goes long for the end zone. That pass is going to be caught in the back corner of the end zone. Touchdown, Tennessee. Javante Payton. Right, they hand it to him. Falls forward and into the end zone. Quick slant, complete to Bayless Jones. Breaks a tackle to the 30. Gets to the 20. Makes a move to the 10, to the 5, to the checkerboard. Touchdown.
Welcome, Vol fans, to Tennessee Fan Talk, another weekly episode. If you're joining us live, I thank you very much. If you are watching the replay, I thank you very much. For all the podcast listeners, we thank you for the continued support that has pushed us into going into the live stream. And we are, taking your time into consideration anytime that, Professor Luke gets rambling and then takes it into an hour-long show. We split them up. We split them up last week. We took your drive time into mind and released one that was like 18 minutes for the first half talking about the week. And then later on in the week, I think it was Thursday, we released another 20-minute segment of this show, and it was our picks. So, when Notre Dame is garbage, as he calls himself today, we get a little long-winded,
Well, it was going to be Notre Dame is and always has been garbage, but I thought that was a little long, a little longer of a title.
Just a hair long. They may have cut you off on that one. Testing out a new platform this week, so give us, we're going through a couple of them over the next couple of weeks just to see which one works out better for us, which one is a little easier to navigate, features, all that jazz, what everyone likes. One of the things we need to get right into is Tennessee. Why not? Holy crap.
I mean, what a game. I don't think anybody saw that coming.
So you picked Mizzou, so you're just out of it.
Yeah, I had a rough week. I'm glad I was not betting on any of these games because I'd have lost my butt this week.
I mean, going through here, the first three picks for you was Arkansas, Mizzou, and Ole Miss.
I mean, yeah. Yeah.
And then South Carolina, and then Florida, and then UConn. Yeah.
It's been about like my stock trades recently, just all downhill. Started off strong, ending the season weak, midway through the season looking weak.
Brad called this Tennessee game. I thought he said 52, but he said 42-17. He said it's gonna be one or the other, and he went with the blowout, and he was correct.
He's spot on.
A quick 28 in the first quarter looked fantastic. Now, I still have some reservations, and you probably haven't seen the title of what our show is called. VOLS caged the Tigers, which they most certainly did, but they're not ready for the West, which they are most certainly not. I don't even know if they're ready for Kentucky. What got me was they went at least the first quarter, if not the first half. I think it was just the first quarter, maybe halfway into the second quarter, before they had a third down attempt, right?
Wow.
I think they only had 2 third down attempts in the first half. Once they started having those third down attempts in the second half, they were not converting. That's scary. One thing that they did do that they did not do against Florida with the high power offense. That's what we've all, Heupel's high power offense. They had that this week, and they did what they had to do, which was put points on the board. They were 6 for 6 in the first half. That allows their defense to play off of that. I mean, their time of possession, Luke, was 3 minutes, and they had 28 points.
Wow. That's impressive. I mean, that was really impressive. It just goes to show you that you have to, if you're going to run that kind of offense, it's the same thing with Ole Miss. You have to keep moving as fast as possible to throw that defense off. And if you're allowed to, if a defense is going to allow you to do that, then you can run roughshod over them. And it's the job of the defense to be able to have to slow that down because, like Heupel and Kiffin and, even Mullen, all these coaches, if they get, as soon as they get a first down, they're ready to go on the next play, or they get 5 or more yards on first down, they're up and they're ready and set and ready to go for the next play. And that really will throw defenses off. And so you're going to get a lot of those drives where, you actually don't even need a third down. You're getting first downs in 2 plays.
Right.
And, I was shocked by that score. I mean, Tennessee, they really look good. Missouri, I just don't know about Missouri. Some weeks they look like a pretty decent football team.
Yeah, correct.
And then other weeks, they look like they has a legitimate shot at beating them. So I don't really get it. I don't follow. I'll admit I don't really follow Missouri as much as I do the other teams. Kind of like Brad said, because I don't really consider them an SEC team as of yet. But I mean, no offense to Missouri fans.
They are approaching a decade, and I haven't considered them one yet.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, hats off to Tennessee. I mean, that's the type of the offense that Heupel is wanting to install at Tennessee, and it just goes to show you that once he gets the players in there to run that style of offense,
correct.
There's a lot of potential that Tennessee has.
Once he has an offensive line that doesn't end with injured freshman.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And and that just goes to show too that the offensive lines play such an important role in those type of offenses. They have to be able to think on their feet. They have to be quick. It's so Tennessee, hats off to them. They look fantastic.
Bazelak did have more yards than Hendon Hooker, 322 yards, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, but that was with 44 attempts. Only 27 of those complete. Hendon Hooker, 15 for 19, 225 yards, 3 touchdowns. His average was 11.8.
Wow.
That was fantastic. Tyvon Evans. Of course, Tennessee overall put up over 600 yards of total offense. Evan, 156 of the yards on the ground. Hooker with 80 himself. Whitehead with 76. I mean, these numbers are just fantastic. Of course, Evans' longest was the untouched 92-yard single play on that drive. I think it was the third drive.
Yeah, I think so.
Tillman and Jones both for over 70 yards apiece, and each with a touchdown. Everything just played right. And Missouri, they look like the Tennessee of 2 weeks ago, where it was penalty. In the first half, I think they had 75 yards of penalties.
It can't do that.
It hurt them. It hurt them real bad. Beatty would get out, which Beatty ended up 21 attempts and only 41 yards, which is unlike Beatty. But every time that he got a breakout around the edge, one of his defensive linemen or a receiver that was holding on to a corner was just that, holding, and it'd come right back. So you hate it for him that he puts in that hard work and it goes, it's for nothing.
Yeah, it was a rough day. You can't expect to beat anybody in this league. I mean, and that's even including Vanderbilt. If you have that many penalties, and you have that many turnovers, I don't see how you beat anybody.
Yeah,
you're gonna have a rough go of it. I mean, Alabama can do it. Georgia can do it, because they're on a whole different level. But we'll get to them in a little bit.
Oh, I'm okay. We can jump right in because we're going to hit a few more Tennessee things as we start talking about week 6. So you said something a minute ago about just teams getting just absolutely spanked. How about Arkansas with their goose egg? And being that we are getting closer to our Georgia game, 37-0. And that's without JT Daniels, right? They said that Georgia, we know that Georgia has the defensive line, but they said offense is what they couldn't do. Stetson Bennett comes in off the bench and does well. Now, of course, one of those was a block punt that they grabbed in the end zone for a touchdown. But Stetson Bennett looked good.
Oh, yeah. And he's looked good for 2 weeks in a row now. And, Georgia has, in my opinion, without a doubt, the best defense in the country. I mean, I don't even think A&M's defense is really good as well, but I don't think they are on the same level as Georgia. So having said that, they don't need some big-time quarterback at Georgia. They've got a great running game, and their defense is just locked down.
They had a great running game. When you look at comparison in quarterbacks, even Jefferson to Ben, I mean, they were neck and neck. I mean, Bennett only threw for 72 yards. He pulled it when it needed to be pulled, and then other than that, he had 3 attempts on rushing himself and got out when he needed to get out. Jefferson, meanwhile, was 8 for 13, 65 yards. It is amazing to have a 37-point game with the kind of stats that are shown because they're not great.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, Georgia's defense is so good that I really think that they could beat any team in the country as long as they score 24 points. And that is maybe even including Alabama.
Wow.
And they might have to go 28 with Alabama because Bama's still going to be able to put up points against their defense. But, yeah, if Georgia scores 28 points, they can and will beat every team in the country. But whether or not they do that or not, it is Georgia, and we all talking about Kirby here. So I know everybody wants to jump on the Kirby train, whenever they look that great. But, it's the same thing with Mullen. Everybody talks about how great he is until Alabama comes knocking or Florida comes knocking or somebody comes in there and beats them when they shouldn't be beat. But yeah, Arkansas, I really thought that they were going to make a game of that. I think Arkansas is way better than what they showed against Georgia. But once they got out 21-0, I mean, there was no coming back. I mean, you're just not going to come back being down 21-0. I don't care how good your offense is against a defense like that. So yeah, I mean, Stetson Bennett, it's when he's come out there and he's done what's expected of him, and that's not much. Not much is expected of him. It's just it's like just don't screw up the handoffs,
right?
Get the snap count in right, and let your running backs and your offensive line take care of the rest. And then, yeah, I was really surprised by that game. I really, I just went out on a limb and said that Arkansas was going to win that game. I didn't think that they had a chance to win that game. I just thought that they were going to keep it close, and maybe with Bennett in there that, they may get lucky. But yeah, the Georgia, they're still a tough team to gauge, in my opinion. I mean, there's no questions about their defense, but their offense, are they good enough to take them to a national championship?
We'll see.
I don't know. Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see.
I just know a lot of Georgia fans, after watching Florida get beat by Kentucky, are they're already started to run their mouth a lot, and it's like, look, guys, I hate y'all as much as y'all hate us. So, but I would be real careful about how you kind of approach that conversation, because that we're not even at the midway point of the season yet. So.
Next one was the Ole Miss Alabama. You and I both picked Ole Miss to win this one. I never ever would have thought where the game was at end of the half. I mean, I don't want to go too far into this because it's Alabama. I mean, it's Alabama. The only thing we'll hit on it is that Young, did throw an interception. Corral still looked good, 21 for 29, 213 yards, just only a single touchdown. And Young was 20 for 26, 241 yards and 2 touchdowns. As far as quarterback play, I think it's still there for Matt Corral. I still think he's a Heisman contender come the end of the year, depending on how the rest of his season goes. They're going to have to shake this one off and go play out. And of course, Alabama is Alabama.
Yeah. And I tell you what, though, hats off to Alabama's defensive coordinator, because after last year's game, I really thought that Ole Miss had a really good chance of beating Alabama.
I did too, based off of last year and how they have improved to this year.
Yeah, and I think Nick Saban knew that there were 2 games this entire season, maybe 3, that could give him problems.
Right.
And that was and Ole Miss being number 1. And so how do you slow down that offense?
Who's number
Texas
3?
A&M.
Tennessee?
I'd say Texas, Georgia, and Texas A&M. I think those.
Wait a minute, we're not a part of that.
Well, no, I mean, and honestly, I don't think that they were even considering Florida. I honestly think they looked at
probably not.
I think they looked at Florida and said, they're a good team, but we should still be able to go out there and just take care of business and beat them. And Florida took them to the wire, and and then threw the rest of their season away. Then 2 weeks later.
We all 3 picked South Carolina to pop over on Troy, and of course they did. The Florida and Kentucky game, we all 3 picked Florida. And we know that Kentucky, that Will Levis, whatever his name is a good quarterback. Now, he was only 7 for 17, 87 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. You go look at Jones, touchdown and interception. He was 23 for 31 and 203 yards. You put up those kind of yardage, and you still walk away with the loss.
Yeah, I mean, I said it on the podcast last week. I said Kentucky. I didn't think that Kentucky would beat us, but I knew that Kentucky was going to give us all we wanted, because I'd watched Kentucky in their in the 3 games leading up to this one, and their defense is no joke. Like, their defensive line is really, really good, and so when you look at that game, Kentucky only had 2 big plays. That was
Yeah,
it. They had a like seven. It was a 72-yard run for a touchdown that put them up, that tied the game 7-7, and then they had that blocked field goal run back for a touchdown, and that was 14 points right there. And
that was it. I mean, that was it.
That was it.
Rodriguez had a good night. 100 yards on the ground, a touchdown. Cavassier Smoke, just 4 attempts for 17 yards. That was it on their ground game. That was it.
And I saw that they had said that as far as Florida was concerned, they had the best rushing offense that Florida had in 25 years under Dan Mullen. And Kentucky came into that game and they said, we are going to shut their run game down and we're going to force Emory Jones to beat us. And it paid off for them. Jones had that one bad throw that he could shake off. But yeah, Kentucky, they're just one of those teams. Their offense is just not good. They've got a pretty decent run game, but their defense is good enough to keep them in 75% of the games that they play this year. So,
right.
Who knows? I still think that Stoops has put together the best Kentucky team that those fans have seen in 3-4 decades now, and that I don't think they're done yet. I think they're going to sneak up and they're going to beat another team that they probably shouldn't beat this year, just with that defense alone. But I tell you, there's going to be some rumblings down in Florida.
We got some more rumblings. I picked this game. You and Brad went with A&M, and I picked Mississippi State. And y'all were wanting the full-on casino. Who's hurt? Who's been tested for COVID too many times and their nose don't feel good? Who's y'all wanted all the stats prior to picking this out, and So Texas A&M, as Brad said, and Brad said last week, he said, if you're an A&M fan, pack it up because you're done. You're not winning the West. You're done.
No.
And you're especially done now. If you had a glimmer of hope prior to week 4, then
their only hope.
Or week 5. Sorry,
they had to beat Mississippi State. They had to have Calzada play just good enough to beat Mississippi State until they could get King back, and then that was all they had to do. And then they were in control of their own destiny, right, and leading up to that Alabama game. But here's my biggest issue with Jimbo and Texas A&M. So you got King that's there. And the kid has lived up to the hype. He's a 5-star talent. But you're telling me that you did not have a backup plan in case he went down. Calzada, I think that kid's been on campus for 2 months. So, I just don't understand how you don't have another experienced quarterback sitting on the bench. Even if he's not that good, at least he's got some experience. And behind Calzado is a walk-on.
Take Milton? We can trade.
I just don't get it. I don't understand how Jimbo put himself in that situation.
Tennessee had the carousel of 3 backup plans last year, and look how well it worked out for them.
Well, I don't get it. I just don't get it. I just don't understand how you didn't have another a quarterback that was at least experienced and ready to go, good enough, and give Calzada credit, man. He's done as well as he could do under the circumstances because he had no expectations of playing this year, and so I don't think he played bad.
There was a little a known quarterback. I'm not gonna say little known. There was a not as recognized as what he ended up being, quarterback that didn't think he was going to play in the first game either. Name Peyton Manning, ring a bell?
Yeah, Calzada, he ain't no Peyton Manning, that's for sure.
All I'm saying is be prepared.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. Vanderbilt was almost prepared for to give UConn their first win, but ended up not happening. Of course, Vanderbilt pulls that one away 30-28. And then another game that we all three picked for LSU, giving that what Bum Nix and company had gone through the week before, and they end up winning that one. That I know you love your boy Bum, was 23 for 44, 255 yards, and a touchdown. Of course, Finley come in for a couple of them as well. Max Johnson for LSU, 26 for 46. 325 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. Ogeron is the next Chiswick. I'm just going to keep saying it.
Yeah, the only he would have been fired already, I think, if it wasn't for
having
him
a national
local.
Championship.
Yeah, I mean, without him, being a Louisiana native and how much the fans loved him, so I think he's going to have a little bit of leeway, But LSU, they're going to be in for a rough rest of the season.
So I was only 500 for this past week. 4 for 8. Brad was the same, 4 for 8. Only because I stinking picked Ole Miss. Can't believe I did that. You were 1 for 8. And overall, now you've missed a week or two here, so I don't have your overall unless I include guests in with yours, which I may do that. But as far as the Duke, Brad and myself, I am 40 for 55, and he's 41 for 55. Hopefully
it's like everything else. It's been happening the last few weeks. It's been a rough ride. But yeah, whenever I pick this week, if you're going to put money down on it, go the opposite way.
Whatever you say.
Yeah, whatever I say, go the opposite direction. Yeah,
be
sure to win.
Well, make sure you pick South Carolina. So only 7 SEC games this week. We start, of course, we're hitting starting to get into the bulk of the season right here in the meat when we have a lot of conference games, and also when we start our bye weeks. So rolling in for some picks for week 6 of the SEC. First game that we'll talk about is the 12 Eastern on ESPN, Arkansas and Ole Miss. Where do you go with this? You don't know. I mean, I think Ole Miss cleans up, and I think they win this game. But Arkansas is coming into this just completely mad, right?
Yeah.
They have something to prove.
They do, but you have to wonder, did they get completely demoralized by getting their bell rung like they did against Georgia? It's going to be really telling to see how Sam Pittman gets his team prepared for this game. Because like I said, I mean, Arkansas, it's not like they gave up 600 yards of offense to Georgia. They just, a couple of costly turnovers and letting them just run the ball down their throat with that stellar offensive line of Georgia's. Ole Miss doesn't have that kind of offensive line. And, I think Arkansas is going to give Ole Miss all they want. But in the end, I think Ole Miss is going to win this game.
Crap, I got to change my pick now.
Yeah.
I'm going opposite of you.
Yeah, I think Ole Miss is going to win, and I think it's going to be a close game. I think there's going to be quite a few points scored because I don't think Ole Miss's defense is very good. So, I think Arkansas bounces back, but it's going to be a 42-36 game, Ole Miss.
I have Ole Miss as well, just with a 38-21. I think both of them are going to be trying some new things, getting ready for future games. So, although you cannot count this one out, Arkansas is still 13, Ole Miss 17. We can, however, count the visitors into the swamp. We can count them as out. Vanderbilt visits Gainesville this coming weekend. Florida, which dropped from 10th down to 20th in the rankings. That game is on SEC Network. It is also a noon Eastern game. You got to go Florida all the way. The question is, by how much?
Oh, it's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot. I mean, it's Vandy. So, I mean, I think Florida could put up. I mean, who knows, though? I mean, they could be looking at it the same way and being demoralized of being beaten by Kentucky and knowing that their season is pretty much over with now. I don't know. I mean, that they're still going to be Vandy. But I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go 38-7.
38-7. Wow. So I'm giving Florida a little more than that. They definitely have the capability. If they were coming into this game as if they were preparing for someone greater than Vandy, I think they beat them like 62 or greater to a very low score. But because they're going to ease off the gas a little bit, I still think it's 48-3.
And you might be spot on with that.
The third 12 noon, Tennessee going back to Knoxville on ESPN2 because of the opponent being South Carolina visiting Tennessee. I went to this game. I didn't go to any last year's games, but year prior, sat at the Tennessee Terrace. Very nice. If you haven't done it, spend the money on it, especially as it started getting cold, because you can just go indoors for just a second right behind you. Have your own little section there, little Petro's chili and chips, whatever else you may be. The lines are much shorter, and go back outside until it's cold again. But it's a great option to have if you have not done it. You know what team is going to show up is what I want to see. So Carolina has barely been winning their games, right? Except for I think one of them they had done well, but other than that, it's been barely pushing through. Tennessee needs this win. They need the conference boost. It'll gain them a little bit more momentum moving forward. So I do think that Tennessee pulls it off. You're not going to get a 62 out of them again in an in-conference game. I don't think. I certainly hope so, right? I do think they get in the 40s, though. And I'm going to go 42-35. And that's, I don't even know if South Carolina has scored 35 in a game yet. I don't think they've gotten out of the 20s.
If they have, it's probably only once. Yeah, I think Tennessee.
No, you're supposed to pick South Carolina here.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, South Carolina all the way. Yeah, 41-0 South Carolina. I mean, it's an easy call. I mean, Will Muschamp's going to have them ready to play, right? So, oh yeah, that's right. He's not there anymore.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, South Carolina fans probably regretting that now, right?
Well, yeah, special teams at Georgia looked great last week under Will Muschamp.
Oh, yeah, and South Carolina always had a great defense. I mean, their offense was garbage, just like when he was at Florida. He put together, Class A on the defenses, but their offenses were JUCO level. So, I mean, or even high school level. He's not there anymore, so I think Tennessee's offense is going to run roughshod over them. Yeah, it's going to be – I think it's
we got to be careful with the block punt or some of the other things that Beamer ball brings to you. But
yeah, I mean, who knows?
How much is Tennessee winning this one by?
I mean, I think Tennessee wins by at least 17. I don't think South Carolina scores that many points.
So are you going like 35, 14-ish?
Yeah, that sounds that sounds good. I think Tennessee's starting to build some confidence now.
Definitely, and as long as they can keep people healthy, the depth is where they can't have players going down.
That's true. That's true. But yeah, I think Tennessee keeps building on that momentum from this past week.
This is one of those things where, we start a new platform and it's supposed to work and it doesn't, and it brings up crap like this instead of showing what it's supposed to show. I don't know if you can see it, but for me, it's just blank.
Yeah, it's just blank on my end too.
The Brad Remington commented in, South Carolina decided just to drop their entire program. That's fine with me. A forfeit is still a win, right?
That's true. That's true.
We can do that. The rolling into the next one, number 2 Georgia at number 18 Auburn, and down at how is it? Brad says that Jordan Hare. Speaking of Brad, I'll take you. Go ahead and take this opportunity to get back at him for you not having service.
Yeah, Brad, are you in East Tennessee this weekend? Because, I hear that you're down in Talladega watching the NASCAR race, but apparently they don't have internet service in Talladega. Not with the 8 cell phone towers and the fact that it's probably sponsored by Verizon. I'm sure you can't get any service, but it is what it is. But
somehow they managed to produce a show and get the signal out. No cell phone towers.
No.
We can't. Yeah.
No, some tells me, hey, he's probably had a little too much to drink to get on the show tonight, and so
there we go.
He's just using this no service thing as a primer.
Too many tall boy natty lights in a bag.
Yep. Too many Jack and Diet Cokes. That's
Georgia. They put Bum in his place. They give him back #Bum Nix. He's already trending that way. He looked great against the nobodies, the Akrons and those. He started trending himself that way. Georgia gives it to him. And I think they come in and put in another 38 again this week. And I think Auburn only gets 14.
That's pretty much exactly what I was going to say, 38-14.
Yeah, but you don't allow that.
I'll change. I can't go with that now. But I'm going to go. I'm going to say it's going to be. Let's see, 32-10, and Bum might get killed in that game. So
So over under on Finley coming in.
Oh, he's definitely coming in. It's just whether or not Bum gets carted off in a stretcher or if it's just his horrible play calls that gets him yanked from that game. But yeah, Auburn's definitely going to have to throw Finley out there, because if Bum decides he's going to try to run around and do all that foolishness that he did against LSU and these other teams, Georgia's defense, they're going to kill that poor kid. So. Yeah, it's going to be Georgia run away with that one.
Missouri gets to come back at the 4 Eastern on SEC Network. And I'm sorry, that Georgia at Auburn is the CBS game of the week, which is fantastic that we just keep getting those in the SEC and tell all the other conferences to piss off. North Texas coming in to Missouri, where I think Missouri, I like this 38 number this week, and I think Missouri 38-10 on North Texas.
Yeah, North Texas, they're just not good. I don't think they've ever been
Missouri
good.
needs a tune-up game right now.
They do, and so I think they're going to try to get Baslek as much confidence building as he possibly can get. So, yeah, I'm gonna go 42 to 14.
Next one is Ed Ogeron and Company LSU. This is the 7:30 Eastern on SEC Network. Traveling to Kroger Field in Kentucky, number 16 Kentucky. It's amazing seeing that. And you know the thing about it is with them being in the East, I hate it. But Kentucky's going to win that game.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Kentucky's absolutely going to win that game.
And I can't remember who it was, whether it was Chris Doering. I don't think it was Gene Chizik. Someone in that SEC Network ESPN analyst group said Kentucky's going to be number 2 and battling Georgia for the East this year. And no one believed him. And now it's coming back around. And I really feel like it was Chris Doering, but it may not have been.
It might have been whoever it was. They were pretty spot on. I mean, so far. Kentucky, yeah, like I've been saying the last couple of weeks, man, Kentucky's defense is legit. I mean, they are good. And Pascal, I mean, that kid, he might be the highest draft pick that comes out of Kentucky's history. I mean, that kid is a phenomenal talent. And their defensive line is great. So they can stop. They are great at stopping the run. And so, yeah, I'd take Kentucky all the way.
I'm going because this is the week of 38s for me. I'm going Kentucky 38.
Just 38s across the board.
LSU 24.
I think it's going to be an ugly game.
Oh, you're going blowout.
No, I think it's just going to be ugly offensively. I think it's just going to be.
What does Brad call that? A stinker.
It's going to be a stinker. Yeah, it's going to be a stinker. Yeah, it's going to be a stinker, and it's just going to be a sloppy game. And the only highlight you're going to see out of that whole game is Kentucky's defense. And because of that, I'm going to go 21 to 13, Kentucky.
The second CBS game of the week for the SEC, the 8:00 Eastern, number 1 Alabama visiting Texas A&M. This thing had to be planned long before A&M's demise because they are no longer ranked. And Alabama is going to take what teeth they have left and shove it down their throat.
Yeah. I mean, Texas A&M, they're going to get killed.
48-14.
I mean, that's possible. It's possible. I mean,
that may be generous.
It just depends. I mean, is King going to be back? Because last I heard that he's not going to be out for a month. Yeah, last I heard he was going to be out for a month, and that was 3. He got hurt the first game of the season. So it's been our second game of the season. So that's been 3 weeks now.
Right. So, it's supposed to be end of October his return. So
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if he comes back. That game will be closer. Texas A&M's defense is legit as well. Leal might be the best defensive player in the country, not only in the conference for Texas A&M. But it's not going to matter because I think A&M might actually, because of their defense, they may actually keep this game relatively close for a half before Alabama just pulls away from them. But yeah, I mean, I'm like you. I'm looking at a 42-21 game.
Okay. And with tradition here, we're going to hit the rankings. Of course, Georgia and Kentucky still tied for first, both 3-0 in the conference, both 5-0 overall. In third, Tennessee takes the spot of third. They took it cleanly away from Florida with their loss. Tennessee 1-1 in the conference, 3-2 overall, with Florida 1-2, 3-2 overall. Missouri has not won a conference game. Neither has South Carolina. And we've already said Vanderbilt staying in the cellar the rest of the year, so it doesn't matter about them. Over in the West, of course, Alabama 5-0, 2-0 in the conference. Leading it now. They were last week. Them and Arkansas shared that spot. And now Arkansas drops 2 spots with Auburn holding the second one. A&M in the cellar have not won a conference game. So sad. I said it last week, say it again this week, for a team that we picked to, at least be up there. Maybe not number 2, but maybe number 3. To be in the cellar is sad. Like you said, with a loss of one person, when they had an entire team, I guess, riding on one person. That's just sad.
Yeah. It goes to show you you lose your most important player and your season is done.
Want to hit, let's see if Tennessee holds any of these. Going on to the stats. Will Rogers still holds passing yards at 1,862. Connor Bazelak's under him. Max Johnson. You don't see Bryce Young down until 4th spot, and then followed by Matt Corral. Rushing, of course, Kentucky's Chris Rodriguez Jr., and then Tyler Beatty. Right, shocking. The funny thing to see on that is Emory Jones is on that top 5 list. And for rushing.
It's not surprising. I'll tell you what, though. I'm looking forward to Kentucky and Georgia playing one another. Tell you, that's Georgia fans might need to be a little bit concerned about that game. Because that Kentucky run defense they're good. So whoever is Stetson Bennett or JT Daniels, they better be ready to throw the ball.
Tennessee's knocking on the door of closing in on total points per game. It's those second halves, right? We have said from the beginning that Tennessee, what they need to do to get better is to play 4 quarters of football. That's been a problem for years. And it's been a problem this year, too. They've been a first half team and then nothing. And so if they can continue scoring more points and putting up more in the second half, quite frankly, we're going to see them climb up even further than what they already are. So hopefully they go in and take care of business at home, hosting South Carolina this Saturday. We will have more updates. Of course, Hendon Hooker did not get hurt this week. So there shouldn't be a battle between him and Milton for a game time decision like Heupel has had to do the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think Milton should go ahead and just see if he can transfer back to Michigan because he probably ain't gonna see the field again for the rest of the season unless Hooker gets hurt.
You need to go back to go back to Michigan. That way, you and Harbaugh can leave together.
Yeah. Hey, if Harbaugh beats Ohio State, they'll send him to another 10-year contract.
Not happening. Well, you know what? No, I say it's not happening. Ohio State does not look great this year.
They have not. They have not looked great. Clemson has not looked great. It was a rough week for the top 10 teams. That's for sure. Yeah, Stanford beating Oregon. That was a heck of a game to watch. That Stanford Oregon game. That's one of the few times I'll watch a Pac-12 game, and I only watched the last half of the fourth quarter just because it was close, and I was rooting for Stanford. And of course, I watched the Notre Dame game just so I could root against them. And so they should be like 1-4 right now, but even getting beat by Cincinnati, I'm surprised they're not still ranked, in the top 5.
the awesome part about the conversion into more of a Tennessee show is that I don't watch a whole bunch of other games and don't keep up with a bunch of other stats. Just what really affects me at this point. So,
well,
stress level way down.
When you got such a deep hatred of one team, you can watch them week after week and it gives you something to do just so you can root against them. It's like, I don't care who they're playing. I just hope they get beat. So when it's in those midday lulls where the games are kind of suck anyway, it's like, well, let's, root against Notre Dame for an hour or so. But yeah, Tennessee, man, I think if they can keep up this progression for the rest of the season, they're still going to have a tough time when they get to the meat of that schedule. I mean, let's be honest. I know Tennessee fans are riding a high, but they're gonna, they run through the middle part of that season, it's going to be rough for them. But it shows the Tennessee fans that you're moving in the right direction.
That is true. We want to thank all the live stream viewers. And if you're watching it after, of course, thank you again. For the podcast, guys, we'll get this thing dropped out in 2 increments this week. One will come out tonight, one around Wednesday. We'll drop all the pick part of it on Wednesday. Of course, what I have on screen here is not correct. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, it is at TN Fan Talk. Please be sure to hit that subscribe and notify button on there. We appreciate that. Here in the next couple weeks, we will start a little surprise for those who are liking, subscribing, commenting, all that jazz. For myself, the absent Duke and Mr. Hatred of Notre Dame himself, Luke Alsup. We hope you have a great week. Thank you for tuning in. Go Vols.
You can sense the intensity as they await the arrival of the Tennessee team here at Cleveland Stadium. Volunteers prepare to race onto the field. Everything is riding on this football game. So there's a special intensity, a special urgency. Here come the volunteers. Wherever you listen throughout the world, it's football time in Tennessee.